y'all? It's your girl Shay Renee, and we are back to talk about the Real Housewives of Orange County, season 17. Y'all, this show really was the start to everything. And we're going to talk about episode 1 and 2. Can I tell you something? I needed to watch both episodes just to see if this thing was really going to be popping like I thought it would. But as we always do, let's just get right on into it, okay? So the episode starts off where Tamra is on this bike. She's looking real biker chick-ish. We don't know if it's her, but we know it's her. And she's like riding to her house. And they're going through like a montage of all of her previous times on the show up to when she was in the burning bush, child. And she says she ain't want to leave the show like that. So she gets off her bike, goes into the house, and she's talking to Eddie and her mom. Now, at this point, her mom has moved in with her. They ended up selling the home that they were living in Kodo, and they moved back to, I don't want to mess up the name of the place where they moved to, child. So they moved back to their home in Madera. So they're having a conversation with the mom about her staying in the casita. So the mom, apparently Tamara sold her mother's house, and the mother moved into the casita of her current home. So they remodeled this house. The mom is in the casita along with Tamara's daughter, okay? So then they kind of playfully talk about Tamara's mom getting a little nookie in the casita while her granddaughter in there. So I'm like, first of all, your mother don't need to be, she too damn old to be slapping shoes. But you know what? Hey, who am I to say when you too old to get it in? Okay? So moving on. Tamra and Eddie were kind of like in different rooms making noises to see if anybody can actually hear them if they doing it. But come to find out, the mama got a boyfriend, and she got it in at the night of Eddie's birthday in the casita. I'm like, okay, mama, get it how you live, child. Okay? So in the next episode, Shannon and Emily are taking their dogs for a walk, and they're kind of like having a little conversation, a little heart to heart, talking about Shannon and her daughter. Her daughter is off at school now, but she's dating somebody. But I guess it's a really religious school, so that they promote, making sure you wait until marriage before you get it in. So Shannon was like, I don't know if that's okay, because you need to make sure it works. Make sure you like it. Make sure everything is right. So I don't believe in that, but I hope she tests out the waters before she just decide to marry this boy. But okay. So then they're walking their dogs, and Shannon pours water for her dog in a cup. And Emily says, oh, I'll take some of that. So she takes some, puts some in her dog's cup. The dog licks out of the cup, and Emily drinks the water from the same cup that her dog was drinking out of. I said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And if I never liked Shannon, I liked her in this moment, because Shannon was like, unbelievable. Why would you do that? Why would you ever do anything like that? So Emily gives the excuse that she heard somewhere that a dog's mouth is cleaner than a human's. That's just like saying my poop smell better than yours. It still stinks. Like, girl. Moving on. Okay. So they discuss Tamra and Shannon's relationship, and basically how they're going to coexist, because it's obvious that Tamra is back on the show now. So Shannon is talking about all the slander that Tamra has put out there by way of her, and she's just not into it. Okay, she's like, Tamra's saying that she's been a bad friend. She's out there just basically saying all this stuff about her, and that Tamra was pretty much just doing all that stuff because she got fired from the show, and she doesn't think that it's fair that Tamra is basically shading her in the streets on all these different podcasts and not talking to her about it. And she just feels like, in a roundabout way, that Tamara was just bitter that she got fired off of the show. So I'm just like, Tamara, you are just, that wasn't cool. So Emily says that she just hopes that they can just have a conversation and talk it out. So Emily is in the car with the kids. I thought this was absolutely hilarious. So she picks the kids up from school or whatever the case may be. I think school is just getting ready to be out at this point for the summer. And she says something to her son about something that he did at school that he wasn't supposed to do. And she says, "Well, I'm gonna tell would you like me to tell your dad that?" And he was just like, whatever." Like her kids was just real about it. Like I don't care. Go ahead and tell dad. Whatever. It is what it is. Or I don't really give a about what you saying right now. So then Emily pulls up in the drive-through somewhere buying some food for the kids, I guess, and herself. So she's ordering and she's talking to the person on the mic. And she's like, "Oh, how's your day going? Aren't you glad that the kids are going Oh, no, the kids are going back to school." So she's like, "Aren't you glad that the kids are going back to school?" I'm like, if I'm this person on the mic, lady, you want a number two or a number three. Like, I'm just here so I don't get fined. Like, I'm here to get my paycheck and go. I really don't. Once you ask me about my past lives and all this BS, what you want, lady? So, Emily being all nice, and I just thought that was really funny. But her daughter was sitting there mocking her in the passenger seat. Like, I wonder that. I was like, these kids, I'm telling you, when they grow up and see this stuff and watch it back, it's going to be hilarious. So Heather is wheeling Terry into the house in the next scene, and he has a torn meniscus. I guess he was exercising or something, and something happened to him, and he tore his meniscus. So Heather is wheeling him around, and she slams him into the daggone elevator. I'm like, damn, Heather. I mean, be a little careful. I know he a surgeon, and he probably know how to, fix himself up. But Lord have mercy. So they go up into the room and she helps him to get into the bed, and he's like rubbing on her butt, and she's like, "Okay, enjoy it right now." So they sit down and have a conversation, and she's rubbing his feet, trying to make him feel comfortable. And she kind of expresses how she doesn't like how Gina kind of ghosted her. She feels like Gina is going, she sees her on social media doing all these things, and they were kind of hanging out tough last season, but now all of a sudden she's ghosted Heather, and Heather don't see her no more. She done brought her on her private jet with the gold seat belts and all, and she ain't calling Heather no more. She was like, "We used to talk all the time, and now it's just like I don't hear from her anymore." And she talks about an event that Gina went to with Emily, where it had like a sign in the back that that was basically Heather's logo, talking about champs or something like that. She was like, "How you gonna use my quote and use my stuff and not even invite me to the event?" So Terry is like, "Listen, sometimes people look at us like, we have all of these things that we have, and maybe those events are just not something we would want to come to because it's not grand enough," basically. And Heather was like, "Well, that's not a good enough excuse. Like, at least just ask me. Like, don't just assume that I don't want to be there." So I think that Heather and Gina are going to have a little hiccup this season, because I do think that Gina was all up Heather's butt last season. Like, Gina is the brokey of the show. Like, she is real regular degular. And it's like, sometimes I'm with Gina, I'm just like, girl, I really don't want to see somebody that live like me. The whole point of watching these shows is to see behind the gate, like how the rich and famous live, right? And yeah, we want a little bit of drama here and there. Well, lots of it, according to Carlos King. But we want drama, but I want to see rich people type of drama, not some BS like what we seeing over on Real Housewives of Atlanta. But that's a whole nother story. So moving on, Eddie, Tamara, and Jen and her boyfriend Ryan go bowling. Okay, so this is how they're going to introduce Jen to the show. Jen is going to be a friend of Tamara's. So they talk about how Jen was married. She was married to a guy named Will. They had 5 children together, and basically how she met Ryan at Cut Fitness. So Ryan was kind of like the Casanova of the gym, and he was like around there swooning all the chicks. And really, Jen wasn't even giving him the time of day. She wasn't checking for him because she was like, "Oh, he looks like one of those kind of douchey kind of guys that's just out there." But they ended up getting in a relationship together. So they all make a little joke like, maybe because we met at Cut Fitness, maybe we'll get married at Cut Fitness. But Cut Fitness is closing down. So I'm like, is that a little joke because you ain't gonna marry her? So in the next scene, all of the ladies attend Jen's yoga event, and everybody gives their niceties, greeting each other. And Tamra and Shannon give like this weird, awkward embrace because clearly they haven't seen each other in a long time, and there's some tension between the both of them. So they do the little yoga thing and the stretches and all. Shannon is so awkward, falling down. And of course, that's what we expect from Shannon to have the comedic relief. So after the regular yoga part is done, one of the other instructors says that she's going to match the ladies with who she feels like they are intuitively they need to be matched with so they can air out some grievances. So Tamara is like, oh, I don't volunteer for tribute. Please don't match me with daggone Shannon. So Shannon gets matched up with Gina, and Emily gets matched up with Tamara. Okay, so Tamara and Emily are talking, and Emily is like, I feel like we both have similar backgrounds where we really had to work hard for everything we have, so we just fight so hard. And I feel like you and I are very similar in that way, and we could actually be closer than we are. And I just think that you just put up a very hard exterior, and sometimes it can be hard to cut through, but I really think that we can be very, very close. So Tamara says, you know what, I'm so sorry, Emily, if I ever made you feel a way, if I ever done anything to you. And I agree. I think that we could, be closer. And I want to explore a new friendship with you and get to know you more. So Gina and Shannon are talking, and she's like, well, how do you feel about being here with Tamara? She asks Shannon this. And Shannon kind of looks kind of awkward, like, basically we need to just have a conversation. I really feel like Tamara is searching for a moment at this point. She's trying to get Shannon activated at some point. I can see it at this point where she's just like looking for the best opportunity to do that. And we all know over the years, Tamara has always been production's pet. So she just coming back in action, doing the same things that she always do. Okay? So moving on, Emily, the next scene, the ladies all go back inside. So Jen asked Shannon to basically tell them who she was. She's trying to get to know everybody, and she asked if Shannon was dating. So Shannon talks about her boyfriend John and how they've been together for 3 years. She had a really tumultuous divorce, but everything's been going good with her and John. Okay. So then Tamara asks how is Shannon so zen, and asks if Shannon is using the pot. Okay. And Tamara says, well, I sell the pot. And Gina says, oh, I uses the pot too. Okay. I'm like, okay, y'all little weed heads. So Jen begins to talk about her background, saying that her husband Will is originally from California. And she moved from Oklahoma to California. They started, her ex-husband works for her family business. They had all their children there in California, but she was really made the blame once their relationship started to go sour. So they really weren't connecting anymore, but Jen's family was really upset with her because she basically wanted to end the marriage, and they just couldn't fathom the thought of her thinking about divorcing this man, because she said they absolutely love her ex-husband, like extremely. It was so bad to the point that they wanted them to stay together so bad that her family flew into California and basically had an intervention with her to get her to stay in her marriage. But she stood her ground and she ended up divorcing him. But she talks about a time where her father like really, really scolded her about her wanting to leave her husband. And she said her dad put his finger in her face and just basically going at her, and said that this is going to be a bad thing if she does this. And she said, I put my head down and I was just thinking about going back to him, but I just couldn't, because I just couldn't handle the disappointment that I was causing. So she said she decided to put herself first for once. And Emily says in her confessional that Gina told her that Jen was rumored to have cheated on her husband. That is why it was over. So I'm wondering if Jen was cheating on her husband with Ryan. I'm like, girl, is you telling the whole story? So then she says, well, so Gina comes out and says, I heard that you were cheating. Like, is that true? I'm just interested. I just want to know. And so, oh no, this is not this scene, y'all. This was in the second episode. My bad, skipping ahead. Okay. So then Emily says Emily talks to Shannon and tells her, this is unseen footage by the way, because I watched it on Peacock. Emily says to Shannon that, Shannon can be difficult at times, but Shannon has shared things with Emily that has helped her to change her perspective on how she felt about Shannon, because she learned that Shannon has gone through so many things in her life, which could probably be a heavy contribution to why Shannon reacted to things. So once she learned that about Shannon, she started to respect her more and really appreciate her and really want to be more supportive. So Shannon says she appreciates that and she's working on being less reactive despite the chaos around her. So that might have been her little jab to say, Tamra, don't try me, because I, even beyond this yoga, is very zen. Okay, so am very zen. So don't try to play with me, because I'm not. This ain't the season for me to be activated and for you to be trying me. Okay. So moving on, they go inside, and Emily and Gina are talking to Tamra, and they begin to tell her that she needs to talk to Shannon to really iron things out, because their relationship can really be saved, and they don't really feel like, you know, the issues that they have can't be resolved. So as they're talking to her, Shannon walks up, because mind you, they standing there by the daggone food. Y'all done did all this yoga, y'all outside. I'm hungry, okay? So everybody gonna come over there by the food. So Gina says, Housewives 101, never talk trash about somebody next to the food. And I agree, Gina, okay? So Tamara walks up and she's like, oh, so the conversation's about me. Okay, all right, let's do it. What's going on? So Shannon and Tamara end up talking, and Shannon puts on that old Sour Patch face. She's like, I really miss my friend. I'm like, girl, do you really miss this lady? Because you've been plotting on the next way that you can get in her giblets at any point. Like, I just know that Tamara is just on some bullshiggity, but we're going to see how this whole season play out. So Shannon says, I miss you too, Tamara. And then Tamara tells Shannon that her dog Bronx passed away, and they had to close down their gym, and it's just a lot going on. And Shannon says, I know we both have a lot of hurt, but I'm at a point in my life where, things are going really good, and I don't want to have any hardships or chaos. And she says, let's get together and talk about it. So this is where we go into episode 2, Friendship Overboard. All right, y'all. So in episode 2, we are seeing a meetup with Jen, Emily, and Gina. Okay, so I guess this is a way for Gina and Emily to get to know Jen a little more. Even though Gina has gone to the yoga studio a couple times to do classes with Jen, she really doesn't know her like that. So before Gina gets there, Jen and Emily get to bond, and they're talking about their backgrounds, and they both pretty much come from like small town beginnings. And so Gina comes in, and they sit down and chat. So Gina begins to ask Jen about her relationship. So Jen shares with her pretty much the same things about her having 5 kids. She's married to Will, and how Will works for her family business and how much her family really loves Will. So Gina is diving in real quick, talking about some. First, she talks about. I thought this was hilarious. Gina said that they order drinks, but Gina asked for a mocktail, because apparently she don't drink no more, but she says she's what they call California sober. I learned this in this episode. So apparently California sober means that you get high, but you don't drink, okay? And Gina says that she found that not drinking, I'm pretty sure this is a result of her getting the DUI and having all this stuff going on with court when she was trying to get her kids, and her ex-husband was taking her through the ringer for a little bit. This made her change her life, and she also said that not drinking has helped her to keep her weight stable and keep her weight down. So they're talking, and Gina says, well, I heard that you cheated on your husband. And, Jen is like, well, if you consider me going in another room having conversations with somebody, then no, that's not cheating. She was like, I wasn't cheating on him. Me and Ryan didn't even get, sexual until after my divorce was final or whatever. So I'm like, Jen, you was talking to this man before you got married, sis. That's cheating. That's called emotional cheating, which is actually the worst level of cheating. So Emily, old freaky butt, cause she ain't getting none over at her house with Shane. Apparently, she's like, "Let's get to the part where you and Ryan do it. Get it in, okay?" So she ain't say that, but y'all know what she said. I can't say all that other stuff. But she all in this lady's business, and she's just like, "Well, no, we didn't really do anything until after we got a divorce, and we were separated, and I just felt like Jen is like Ryan was giving her everything that Will wasn't emotionally." So that was when she felt like it was just really time for her to get on out the relationship. Basically, Will wasn't giving her what she giving her something she can feel. Okay, he wasn't doing it. Apparently, he must have been all about work and no play. So that got old, and I thought it was interesting that they didn't go to counseling. Like, why didn't you go talk to a professional to try to figure out what it was? She said, "Well, we used to do church therapy, the kind of thing where you're like at church and you're like nudging the person, like, yeah, yeah, yeah. The pastor, you heard what he said? Yeah, that's you. He talking about you." And I'm like, okay, girl, whatever. So moving on, in the next scene, Heather orders a ton of shit for her kids to go to college. I'm like, Heather, I know Bed Bath and Beyond went out of business. Did you buy all their inventory? I'm looking at all this stuff that Heather got. Heather got monogram sheets and towels. She got all the knick-knack paddywhacks. Give everybody something but the dog. Okay, it's too much. Where are they gonna put all this shit? I would hate to be their roommate. Actually, I probably would love to be so that I can use some of their stuff. But I hope they go into a school where all the parents act like this, because if not, that's gonna be a long. This gonna be a long 4 years for them too. But moving on, she got all this shit, and Tamara and Shannon are on their way to their meetup because they're now going to have a conversation about their relationship, and they each are calling Heather to talk about their sides and how they feel like this is going to go. And once Heather gets off the phone with both of them, she's like, "Oh my God, this is going to be a shit storm. This ain't going to work." So Shannon and Tamara arrive. They both sit down. It's super duper awkward, okay? Nobody says anything until they order some water and whatnot. The waiter comes over to kind of break the silence, the waitress. And then Tamara finally says, "Well, I'm glad you came today." And Shannon was like, "Yeah, I totally understand how you feel." And then Tamara was like, "Do you really?" And Shannon was like, "Actually, no, I don't. That's exactly why I'm here." So Tamara begins to go in about how she feels like Shannon wasn't there for her. And Shannon basically says, "Well, I was there for you, Tamara. I was responding. I have text messages. We were texting, and then all of a sudden you fell off the face of the earth. You weren't responding anymore. And then I see all of these blogs and podcasts where you going on and telling I'm everything but a child of God." So Tamara was like, "I mean, you responded ish." And I'm like, "Tamara, girl, you are really cruising for a moment right here." So Tamara begins to go into talking about how, you know, when she told Shannon about when her ex-husband Simon had found where they found out that he had cancer, and that she was very supportive in the beginning, sending doctor information and all that. And Shannon was like, "Yeah, I was very helpful, but you were saying that you didn't want me to say anything about to Eddie about him, you going over there and being supportive to Simon and things like that, and I hadn't said anything. Like, we were talking, we were having conversations." So Shannon pretty much aired her out that she was going over there and talking to Simon. I don't know if y'all peeped that, but apparently they had been close enough where Tamara could have those types of conversations with Shannon. So I really don't understand where this divide came with Tamara. I really think that Tamara was upset that she was no longer on the show, and I think she was jealous that Shannon was still on the show, and she just couldn't handle it, and she couldn't be happy for her friend. And I also feel like a lot of their relationship was a whole lot of Tamara taking on. Shannon was going through a divorce. She was getting into a new relationship with John. She was just really trying to navigate her path after divorce. And I just feel like, Tamara was there for her, and overly there for her, if you ask me. But she never set those boundaries. And I think that it took a build up with her, and it was just at a point of no return. And so Shannon has a certain expectation of Tamara as a friend. Tamara has these expectations of Shannon, but she's not sharing with her how much, Shannon is really draining her at this point. So I think that this is just like a huge miscommunication. So Tamara calls Shannon a fake friend, and basically Shannon talks about how you labeled me as neurotic, crazy, and an alcoholic. And Tamara said, I told you to stop drinking when David complained about it in your marriage. And Shannon says, okay, you're crossing the line right now. That was a really hard time in Shannon's life, so I can't believe that Tamara would just dig that low and say something like that. So Shannon kept her composure and said, let's just work on this and see where it goes. They hug and Tamara leaves. I really think that Tamara was trying to get a rise out of Shannon at this point, and she was unsuccessful. So I think it's bothering her that she's not getting what she wants out of Shannon at this time. So in the next scene, Jen is at home making tacos with her for dinner for her family, but she done forgot the lettuce, tomatoes, and all the other stuff. So they basically having taco shells, meat, and cheese. Okay. So the little one, it's just a lot going on. She got a lot of kids. She got 5 kids and several animals. One of the kids is adopted, the youngest kid. He at the counter pulling his own tooth out, and then she's talking about one of the older kids just got his license. So they're celebrating some things around the counter before they eat dinner. So then she begins to start talking about her foster son and talking about how she got became his parent. Like I think they got him when he was 2 months old or 2 years old, something like that. And basically, when it was time to take him back, he was kicking the back of the chair like, I don't want to go. And he started calling her mom early on. So her and Will have always done charitable things like that and always had foster kids in and out of their home because they really love children. They always wanted to help. So I really think that this is about to be Jen's story about how charitable she is and stuff like that. While that's all fine and good, I don't know about exploiting these kids. Like, hey, look at me, I'm a good Samaritan, I do great things. But then again, I don't want to diminish that because we need more people like that, like her in the world, because there's so many children out here looking for good parents to be in good homes, and if that's what she's providing, kudos to her. So I thought it was really sweet. She was seen reading a book with him, and he's really good. Like he's growing up. Yeah, she got Dominic. Dominic is the youngest one, and she got him at 2 years old. Okay, so he's reading a book. But I want to point out that Jen makes a comment that she hopes that her children don't think that Ryan was the reason why she divorced their father. And, I really think that that's a tough conversation, and that's something that she really should talk to her kids about and see if that's really how they feel. But it seems like they get along with Ryan, so I don't know. Let's carry on. In the next scene, Tamara meets up with Eddie at Cut Fitness, and they're basically clearing things out. And Eddie is just like really nostalgic over all the things that they've done at Cut Fitness. Like I remember Tamara talking about in episode 1 where that's how she met Jen at Cut Fitness, and she even helped Jen with her first fitness competition. So they go through all these things. Eddie is very passionate about fitness, health, and wellness. But I'm just like, what did Eddie do before he had this gym? Wasn't Eddie like a lawyer or something like that? I can't remember. But y'all drop down in the comments and let me know if that's what he was. So Tamara begins to talk about a text that she got from Emily that was basically encouraging her, letting her know, this is a great accomplishment to have a business for this long. I know that it's probably hard, but, you guys are amazing for all that you've done in the community or whatever. So Tamara was like, that was really sweet coming from Emily. Why didn't Shannon send me a message like that? I'm like, girl, you and Shannon are not friends right now. Y'all barely could even make it out of this little lunch without you trying to yell and scream and tell her how she a drunk and neurotic and all this stuff. Why would she send you a message like that? And also, you talked about the fact that your business was closing with her at the end of the yoga thing. And she said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that. So what else did you want her to say, sis? I don't get it. So then Eddie begins to say, man, Shannon, the best thing about her was David, and her relationship with David. So I just don't know. Like, she definitely drinks too much. Eddie, you can shut the fuck up, because for you to say that David, who was a terrible husband to her. Now, granted, I think that Shannon really did treat poor little David bad sometimes. She had a bad attitude. I don't know what David was doing to get that rise out of her, but it takes two to tango when a marriage is basically on its last leg. And to blame Shannon for the whole thing, I just think that that's messed up. And he should not have involved himself or said something like that. Like, anytime that a man totally demeans their wife the way that David did, and for you to say something like that, like, what type of person are you to say something like that? And Tamara should have corrected him. But moving on, Tamara says it's always something with Shannon, and she said when she was around Shannon and John, it was always a drunken fight. I'm like, girl, I don't believe Tamara a bit more than the man in the moon. Tamara always damn lying anyway. But moving on. In the next scene, Gina is in the car with Shane, and Emily is in the car with Shane, and Gina calls her. Gina has the C19, but she's supposed to be doing this flamingo event on the boat. So she set this boat trip up for the ladies, but she can't even go. I'm like, did Gina really set this up? Do Gina really got the money to be setting up a boat for all these ladies, complete with food and drinks? Production. And how convenient for her to get the C19 so she can't go. But moving on, she's talking to her. Emily's talking to Gina on the phone because her and Shane are on the way over to Gina's house so they can get all the things so that Emily can go ahead and host the event for her. So they're on the phone, and Gina tells her that Shannon and Tamara their meeting didn't go well. So she suggests that Emily don't sit them next to each other. So Gina says she's glad Tamara is around, but she needs to adjust herself as well. So basically everybody is seeing that Tamara is making it all about her. She's not willing to accept any responsibility for how their relationship went sour. She's just looking for an apology from Shannon and for Shannon to grovel at her feet. And it's like, girl, you just came back to the crew. You the one need to get your feet wet and get back into the fold, not me. So you might want to be trying to be my friend, not the other way around, okay? So moving on, she says make sure no one kills each other. And Emily says people need to just take ownership for their part. So in the next scene, the ladies are all getting all dolled up, and they all make their way to the flamingo boat party, okay? Flamingo, by definition, is the act of trying to flirt, mingle, but you are so awkward that you become a flamingo, okay? I'm like, okay, well, that's cute. So Emily FaceTimes, this is an unseen footage on Peacock. Emily FaceTimes Gina when she got to the boat so she could show her the decorations that she did since she wasn't going to be able to come. And, Gina says everything looks really, really good. And Emily gets off the phone with her and says to Eddie, the bartender, she's like, can you bring me a drink? Because I want to get schmammered before anyone gets here. I'm like, okay, Emily, don't be off your ass before everybody get there, sis. Okay? So Heather arrives, and she compliments Emily on all the amazing decorations. Emily is actually very good at that. Like, I'm like, okay, the flower arrangements, she got a nice little spread on the table. She got matching pillows. I don't know how much of that Gina actually picked out, but I know Emily does party planning or something like that. She was doing that as like a side gig to her 9 to 5, which was being a lawyer. So she does a really, really good job. So Tamara comes on the boat with her friend Jen, and Tamara is talking to Emily and thanking her for her text message that she sent her. And as she's talking, Heather comes over there and interrupts. She's like, guys, I think there's a penthouse upstairs. And Emily is like, this bitch always interrupting something. Like, damn, we having a conversation and you bring your mouth over here. So they all end up going upstairs to the penthouse area and sitting down and getting some champagne. So Shannon arrives. She goes upstairs with the ladies and says they all look like a big pack of bubble gum. And she greets everyone, and she was right. They do. So Heather spills champagne, and Tamara says, Heather is cut off. She just got champagne in my hoo-ha. I'm like, Tamara, you not wearing no drawers in that short dress? You wanted something in your hoo-ha dressing like that. Okay, girl. So then Taylor arrives. She's actually a former housewife of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So I'm actually interested to see what Taylor is going to bring to the season. It seems like she about to be a little lapdog for Tamara, and I ain't here for that. But child, we gonna see what it's given. So Tamara knows Taylor because they would see each other around town, but they did real ultimate girls trip. Heather knows her because they've attended the same events and stuff like that, and she knows um, Shannon because they went to a charity event together. But the other lady she really don't know like that, and I'm assuming she knows Jen because Jen is cool with Tamara, so they probably have seen each other because of that connection. So moving on, Heather proposes a toast, and Jen begins to tell the story of how she adopted her son. And as she telling the story, Shannon's like, John, oh my gosh, is that John's son? I think that's John's son, everybody. I'm like, Shannon, girl, this ain't what we about to be doing. I know you not doing all of that. And this lady is telling this heartfelt story of how she adopted her youngest child. And you over here worried about somebody on a damn boat. Don't the boy live with y'all or something? Like, you will see him all the time. Unbelievable. I couldn't believe that Shannon was doing that. But Tamara was like, see, this is what I'm talking about. This is what she does all the time. She makes everything about her. This is what I'm telling you guys. So she tells Jen that, and Jen is just so disgusted. She's like, wow, I'm trying to tell this story, and you just very distracted. She's like, oh, okay, well, I'll wait till she's finished. And then Shannon was like, I think Emily nudged Shannon, and so Jen begins to continue to tell her story, but she quickens it. She's like, okay, yeah, so he was 2 years old, and then we adopted him, and that's it. Because at this point, she's annoyed. She's like, I can't believe this lady is at her big age over here acting like such an aloof fool. So moving on, Tamara, Shannon, and Emily are chatting, and Tamara says all Shannon does is take, 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 and take. And it got to the point where she didn't have any more to give, okay? So no, I don't think Tamara was talking to Shannon. That was something else. I don't know who she was talking to, child. I wrote the wrong name. Moving on. Taylor, Jen, Heather, and Shannon are sitting on the front of the boat, and Taylor asks Heather about acting coaches because she's recently been casted in a movie. And Heather agrees to help because, of course, they go through Heather's plethora of sitcoms and shows that she's mainstream shows on NBC and ABC or whatever C that she was casted on, and she agrees to go ahead and help her find an acting coach and to be there for her. So then the bartender comes up with shots. Now the bartender said he was gonna come up and get him the shot shirtless, but he ain't come up there shirtless. So Heather don't take shots, and Shannon was like, "Now you know damn well you don't take no shots, Heather DeBro." So they take the shots, and before Heather actually drinks the shot, she tries to throw the glass off the boat, and it shatters. So in the next scene, Emily is talking to Tamara and asks her if she is going to let some of the animosity towards Shannon go and just forgive her. And Tamara says, "You're asking a lot, Emily." So Heather comes down and once again interrupts them. Now Emily is sitting down and Tamara's sitting down, and Heather gets in between them and sits on both of their laps. And Emily is like, "You don't want to just like sit over here?" And Heather's like, "Nope, I want to sit right here." So I guess she a little tipsy and nippy. So she's like, "So Tamara, what's going on with Shannon? Like, are you guys gonna have a conversation? Are you guys gonna be able to move forward, or do you think that she's, not going to do what it takes for you guys to move forward?" And Tamara was like, "No." And she was like, "Do you want like a deeper friendship?" And she was like, "Yes, I want a deeper friendship, but I don't want to be putting more into the friendship than what I'm getting out." And Emily says, "Can you take any accountability for anything that went on between the both of you?" And Tamara says, "No, I cannot." And Shannon can a duck. I'm like, girl, who gave you that tired ass read? Okay, child, she over here telling people's a damn fucking duck. I can't. And she's like, "I didn't do anything to her. But take all of her calls day and night when my husband and my children were like, 'Mom, Tamara, why are you constantly taking her phone calls? Blah, blah, blah.'" So she's yelling at this point because Shannon is upstairs. So this is where Tamara begins to search for a moment. She's trying to get a rise out of Shannon. So I'm thinking she was hoping that Shannon would zoom down in her platforms, down the boat steps, which is probably not a good idea because all of them was wearing heels and them steps was real janky. But moving on, she must have wanted. She's trying to activate Shannon at this point. So Shannon obviously hears all of the yelling and screaming that Tamra is doing downstairs. But I'm proud of Shannon. She did a very good job of ignoring the mess out of daggone Tamra and her reaching ass. Okay, so moving on. In her Emily says in her confessional where Tamara was enabling her by taking all those calls and not setting boundaries. So I don't know why she getting so mad. And that's the truth. Again, Tamara, nobody can do anything that you don't allow them to do. If you didn't tell Shannon, listen, friend, I want to be there for you, but you're calling me a little damn too much. Like, I talk to you more than I talk to my husband, and I sleep next to him every night. So that should tell you something. You got it's got to be some boundaries here. Like, what do you want from me? Like, I want to be there for you, but I feel like you're just being a little more needy than I can handle. Like, have that conversation with her. Don't give her all of the attention that she's craving and then complain about it later. Like, you just look like a hypocrite at this point. And like you're fishing for drama, okay? So moving on, Tamara begins to yell again about Shannon not caring about anyone else and how Shannon ignored Jenna's story. So all the ladies come downstairs and sit down to eat. And Emily tells Shannon that she needs to apologize to Jen. So Shannon says, "Oh, you know what? I'm so sorry. I will apologize to her." And so Jen was like that was just really, really rude. I just couldn't understand why it was so important for you to know who was on that boat when I'm telling a very heartfelt story about my son. Like, I just didn't like that. And so Shannon was like, "No, I completely agree. I'm so sorry." She was like, "Actually," and Shannon kind of cut her off. She was like, "Actually, I was looking into being a foster parent as well, but as I was going through the process, I found out that I was actually pregnant. So I totally understand where you're coming from, and I know what the process that you went through, and I was actually interested in hearing your story." I think that was unseen footage that I got off of Peacock as well. So there y'all go, little tidbit, okay? So then, Jen is like, "Okay, but you really just seemed really uninterested in my story, but okay." So Jen just kind of fake takes the apology and moves on because she's like, "I ain't about to be going back and forth with you bitches." So Tamra gets herself in it. She was like, "It's what you always do. Like, this is just what you always do. You're always making it about you." And Shannon was like, "What I always do? What are you talking about, Tamra?" So Shannon apologizes again, and Shannon says, "I just apologized and acknowledged it," and she doesn't understand. She doesn't miss this aspect of Tamra. That's what she said. She was like, "I just apologized." So Tamra is still trying to go back and forth with her, and Shannon was like, "I don't miss this part of you. Like, I don't miss this aspect." And I was like, "Wow, Tamra, you about to try." I can see her trying to blame it on the alcohol for how she's acting real cray cray right now, and it's just getting old and ridiculous. Like, girl, this behavior of you yelling and screaming at people. So then Tamara begins to get real irate, talking about, "Oh my gosh, Shannon, I can't believe it's always all about you. You can never accept responsibility. I'm going to jump off this boat." Tamara, you're not jumping off that boat. No, you're not. You and your Pink Panther suit, you're going to sit your tail right down and you're going to keep on drinking and you're going to eat some of these people's food and you're going to sit your ass down and shut up. That's what you're going to do. So then Shannon says, "I just apologized and acknowledged it. Like, what more do you want me to do?" So Tamara says, "I did nothing to you." And Emily begins to talk to try to resolve it between the both of them. And Tamara says, "Emily, don't stick up for her. Don't stick up for her." I'm like, "Girl, you just want everybody to be on your side and you don't want nobody to reason with you." Okay, I see what this is. So then Emily is like, "I'm not on anybody's side. I'm just trying to reason with you and you're not listening." So Tamara, at that point, Emily was just like, she's a lost cause. So then Shannon says, "Where's the girl that just cried to me at Jenna's yoga retreat saying you missed me?" And Tamara says, I miss what I had." Basically, like the old friendship they had. And I said, "Well, I'm thinking to myself, well, girl, no, you don't, because you complaining about the old friendship. You said that homegirl was too needy. So now you miss the old friendship that y'all had. It's not giving. It's not making any sense." So then Emily says, "Listen, Shannon seems to be very zen and actually listening. She says this in her confessional. She's like, Shannon handled it really well, but Tamra is just doing team entirely too much. So the boat is docked, and Emily says, listen, I don't know where y'all gonna go, but you got to get the hell out of here. We got to get off this boat. That's all I got to say. And she probably like, I ain't paid for it. Gina did, so I know she ain't paid for no extra time for us to get off this boat and clean up. So we got to hurry up and get to skipping and get out of Dodge. So Tamra basically is doing the most. She really did her best to try to activate Shannon, but I feel like Shannon walked into this season knowing that Tamra was going to try her. So I loved how Shannon did not go ahead and succumb to Tamra's foolishness. And I hope that Shannon continues to be ever so resilient throughout the rest of the season, because that's really where Tamra's storyline lies. She's trying to do the absolute utmost to try to activate Shannon, have some type of back and forth with her. That's really going to be the meat and potatoes of what Tamra tries to do all season. But of course, we know that Tamra and Shannon are cool again. So I guess at some point when she realizes Shannon ain't before the bush, she gonna shift it over to Heather. Which Tamra said in the past that she don't really fool with Heather like that because Heather is too bougie. So I'm like, girl, you faking and acting like you like Heather. I don't like how all these people continue like use Heather. It's so y'all wanna. It's like they complain that she's rich, but they love the benefits of her being rich. These heifers are so fake, but I love every minute of it. I love seeing the lifestyle. This is what I want to see on a Real Housewives franchise. There's enough drama, but I love seeing the rich and famous lifestyle. I just love it. But anyway, y'all, thank y'all for watching. Please, please, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with anybody else that's watching the Real Housewives of Orange County too. And I will see you in the next video. Peace out.